So here it is. I finished building the Kromlech Orc Custom Workshop, or Kromlech / Tabletop Scenics, and we'll go over a bit of a review in general of the entire thing. And let me tell you, this thing is pretty good sized. As you can see, it barely fits in the camera. You can get the top of it here. So, my thoughts on it. First of all, it was a pretty significant build. It was probably between, unfortunately didn't keep track of it, but it was at least 12 hours. 10, 12, 15 hours, somewhere in that range to build it. Most of it is at least 2 layers of MDF, if not 3 layers everywhere. These round barrels here are, of course, individual slats. Kind of give the illusion of it being round. And we had lots of little fiddly pieces. Stuff like that. So overall, this thing is absolutely incredible. This thing is gorgeous. I love the top here. Let's see if you can see the Tabletop Scenics website in the background. So we got the sign up here. It says the best mechanic in town. I put that side on the outside, on the facing side. And we got an arrow face, and this one says build custom repairs. So I didn't like that one as much. Almost left it off entirely. Here we have a force field generator like looking thing, and some extra ones of these things all around here, because why not have a mech shop with its own force field, right? So I don't know how long these are, while these are going to stand up to play. So we have these like handhold steps things up here, and right here. These hoses things are square, of course, but then they have these little round bits, kind of give the illusion of a pipe. I almost thought about replacing these with actual pipes, actual plastic tubes, but I decided to just leave it as is. These doors are like 4 layers. Let's see, let me get this pen back down again. So the doors back here, there's like 4 layers. There's a main part, there's an inside detail, outside detail, and then there's another layer on the outside to inset the door a little bit more for that extra bit of detail. The chains actually weren't too hard to cut out, surprisingly. And in fact, they only broke a couple parts in the entire process, neither of which was significant at all. The only fit issues I had were with these parts right inside here, between here. I had actually shaved them down a little bit to fit, so that might have been on my construction, or they might actually be oversized, but I'm not quite sure which. But that's the only fit issue I had, was with those. Of course, there's the other inside door, the fuel pump, gas pump in there is awesome. There's a little workbench here, and the workbench had actually engraved tools in it, but throughout the sprues are mixed in tools you can cut out, wrenches and hammers and screwdrivers. So I decided to cover the workbench and the floor with tools, which of course just part of the sheets. They're just inside, like inside the door pieces here for these front and back. So we have this big large cutout. That's where some of the tools were, is inside that, and that's awesome. And there's also a couple parts that I don't have handy, but they look kind of like there's some extra parts. I don't know, they're not instructions, they weren't numbered. I don't see them on any of the images on anywhere. They remind me of oxyacetylene cans, or cylinders. So that might be what they're supposed to be, but I just didn't put them on because it just didn't look like anything. There was also the crane. There's also, this comes with it. This was one of the two parts that I broke, was this kind of gear thing on the outside of the crane, and then one of these chains also broke. So there's this chain here with the hook on it. Let's see if I can get that in the camera or not. Originally I was going to hang that from this chain right here, because this is right over the middle of the work area. I was going to use it like an engine hoist, but it broke. It was just too fragile to leave hanging. So that just kind of got glued to the side. There's another chain there that, once again, doesn't really have a purpose. I just kind of glued it on there. It comes with a few of these bits here and there, like this one. They have like screw heads or rivet heads on them. I just kind of sprinkle those everywhere. Yeah, and as far as, you know, it does look like a service bay, something you would find at a standard auto shop. So I imagine it's a lift, and it just happens to absolutely perfectly fit a truck. I'd assume this is quite intentional. But the wheels from the truck fit perfectly on the ramps for the lift in there. I guess with that little roof you're not going to lift it up a whole lot, but that's what it reminds me of. It's a lift. You can drive on a lift. And it's perfect for a truck. I mean, that looks, I mean, when I first put the truck on there, it's so awesome looking. So yeah, I mean, there's almost no downside to this thing at all that I can see. I still haven't figured out what to do with this thing. I don't know if I'm going to put it up top here, or the pictures show it right there, which I guess would be possible, but kind of hides, makes it harder to play on the inside. And I don't know if it'll be too fragile to sit up top. It might be, I might magnetize it up here, drill the holes in there and just put a magnet on there, make it easier to store. Probably should have done that with this part over here too. Just magnetize this too. So, and the force field, so it just makes it easier to store. I mean, yeah, I should have done that. I probably should have done that. I should have left these other two parts not glued down and magnetized as well, just for ease of storage, because then you just throw them all on the inside here when you throw it in a box or wherever you store them. It takes up less space. And of course there's also skull totem, which can go up here too, if you really wanted it to. But yeah, this thing, I mean, as far as cutting and getting everything came out of the sprue very easily. Even some of the fragile parts I thought would break when I just cut them out, didn't. And one thing I noticed is that the cuts were on the MDF were so thin, the knife was actually too big. Just a regular hobby knife blade was really too big to practically to get in there. And that's where most of my fears of breaking parts was cutting the sprue connection points, because they were just there wasn't enough room between the part and the frame to safely cut it out. But fortunately it turned out most of the time that wasn't a big deal. Didn't have a problem. So I absolutely love this thing. I mean, this is just an absolutely fantastic bit of kit. It looks great. I mean, I don't know how much customizability there is into it, but if this is the kind of quality that we're going to get from these tabletop Scenics, I want more of them. Building this, putting it together, and looking at it, the scale of it, the heft of it. I mean, this thing is heavy. Of course, what would you expect from 3 layers of MDF everywhere? I would expect it to be heavy. I mean, it is a significant bit of terrain. I am kind of worried about the fragility of it over time when you're actually trying to play games on it, like these. So I don't know if I was really worried about that, or if I was doing these for like a public tournament or something, I would leave off these handles here and maybe the KFF bits. I would leave those off, and probably the pipes too, or at least most of the pipes and the chains. And but that's only if you're doing this for a public. If you're just doing it for yourself and you're careful with it, then it's not an issue. But it's just something to keep in mind if you're building for stuff that's not yours. But yeah, that is the Kustom workshop from Tabletop Scenics. What's it called? Orkenberg, the Orkenberg line. And it's a bit on the spendy side, but it's absolutely worth every penny in my opinion. It is gorgeous, it is significant, and even, you know, that would be a great line of sight blocker. You can definitely hide behind here without too much hassle. You got room to play on top, definitely got room to play inside, and if you want this as some sort of display piece, you know, being able to park a truck inside it as perfectly as it does makes it very much worth it for that. So, any questions, let me know. Have you built any of this Orkenberg stuff? I personally cannot recommend this stuff highly enough. As soon as I can afford it, I am getting more. There is no doubt about that. Any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.